I am Lynette Silva Heelen. I am the EMEA Consulting Practice Leader with Workhuman, where I have the best job in the entire world. I get to help millions of people feel recognized, noticed, valued, and appreciated for who they are and what they do every day. And I do that at Workhuman, where we are committed to helping build connection and community between people and between individuals and their organization and their company culture. Because when we do that, we dramatically impact the individual, their well-being. What's good for the human is good for the business, and we learn a lot. There is so much wrapped up in every personal moment of recognition. And right at the very beginning, I'm going to explain what I mean by recognition at work. I do not mean, thanks, bruv, love ya. I mean Ben, Tom, Gareth, our amazing AV crew at the back of the room, who are just trying to help me with this little thing here, who are making sure all of this works, the audio works, an inclusive room for all. It makes me comfortable to be up here and doing this and not having to worry about all of that. Thank you guys so much. It makes my job so much easier. That's what I mean by recognition. Specific, meaningful, personal, detailed, authentic. And I get really passionate about this topic. Corner me later and I will talk your ear off about why this matters. Why am I so passionate about it? 1 in 8 people in the UK live below the happiness poverty line, not even coming close to understanding what happiness means in their lives anymore. Gallup just released their European research numbers last week on how we're doing. Newsflash, we're not doing okay. I'm going to take a quick second for an exercise here. I'm going to ask you to turn to somebody near you, smile, and say hello. That's all. Just take a second, somebody near you, smile, say hello. Great. Some of you are getting ahead of me. Turn to a second person. Do the same thing. Just smile, say hello. Wonderful. That tiny moment of human connection impacts our well-being more than you know. But here's the really scary part. One of those people you just spoke to is thriving. They're doing pretty well overall. The other person you just spoke to is struggling or even suffering, and you don't know which is which. Half of the people that we work with are thriving overall. Half are suffering and struggling, and we don't know which is which when we interact with our colleagues at work every day. We are not doing okay. The WHO tells us 15% of workers at any given moment are going through a mental disorder. And that's costing us huge, trillion euro a year in lost productivity due to depression and anxiety at work. And it's our fault. Because a good bit of that depression and anxiety at work is driven by the effort-reward imbalance. People do not feel they are being rewarded for the level of effort they're giving at work. They do not feel they're being acknowledged, recognized, praised, appreciated, compensated, rewarded for the level of effort they bring every day. And a lack of appreciation at work is the second leading cause of occupational psychological distress. Who here has been thinking a lot about working on psych safety at work one way or another in recent years? Most everyone, this is a focus now. How did we deliver on psych safety when it's something we can't see? How do we support that? It's not all bad news. Employees who say that they feel a strong sense of well-being at work are 2 times more likely to view their lives more positively. And happy employees are 12% more productive at work. What's good for the human is good for the business. Let's focus on our humans first. And all of this around, we're not doing all that great, but there's hope, comes in the middle of the latest crisis and the perma-crisis that we all tend to live in now, and that's the skills crisis. This one's coming out of, I have to say it, it's required by law at every conference, AI, driving the skills crisis at work and changing what is needed. So the skills economy is growing up around that to support that. Now the skills economy is doing lots of things, from upskilling, reskilling, even identifying skills. What are they? What's needed? What does this look like? How does this feel? 87% of organizations, according to McKinsey's recent global study, have identified a skills gap in their organization today that is impacting competitiveness. 87%. But again, there's hope. That red box. The future of skills and how work gets done is opening up opportunity for underserved workers. Those perhaps had less access to advanced education, university, no desire for that, but are still quite smart, quite able, quite capable people. With this change in skills requirements and the focus on upskilling and reskilling in the workforce, now have opportunities they didn't have before. This is a leveling of the playing field as well. It's an opportunity for us. But what are we talking about when it comes to skills? And how do we support that? And what does that mean for well-being? Well, hard skills can be taught automated assisted. Soft skills are much more challenging. And that's the last time you're going to hear me use those words. It's not hard and soft skills. It's technical and human skills. And they are both dramatically important in the modern workplace, regardless of industry, region, job role, function, or level. LinkedIn did a survey recently. The most in-demand skills this year, you can see on screen. These are a healthy mix of technical and human skills. Show of hands, who here is aware of, involved in, part of building skills taxonomy at work, identifying skills of the people in your organization? Anybody involved in those efforts? There's a few hands. I'm glad to see the crossover. That's great. Most of the skills taxonomies that are being developed are around those technical skills, because they're the ones that can be self-reported and certified. I can self-report that I have a certificate in Asana project management. I can self-report that I have a degree in analytics. I can self-report that I completed a management leadership class. I self-report that I'm great at teamwork and that most important skill, adaptability. Yay me! What proof of there is that? How do you know that I truly am adaptable and work well in teams? How are we identifying those human skills in a meaningful way? That's where recognition comes in. When I go back to that very specific, meaningful, detailed message of recognition that conveys to someone what they did, how they did it, and how it helped, we're learning so much. And by identifying those human skills in our teams supports talent development, which supports well-being. Through Workhuman's recognition programs that our customers use, we analyze those messages of authentic, real, detailed, specific, meaningful recognition to learn everything. We learn connections between people, between teams, across organizations. And we also learn what are those human skills being demonstrated within teams, and when recognition is happening at scale within an individual. So we can look at this and surface up for this organization that this particular team is fairly low in collaboration and problem solving. If I'm hiring into that team, or I'm upskilling, reskilling individuals in this team, I now know where I may need to focus on some of those softer human skills to round out this team's ability. But how do we even serve that up in a meaningful way? In our recognition systems, we've built an AI assistant based off of this recognition activity, where you can ask just natural language, I want to understand what the skills are within my team. What are they? And you can see that leadership is high. And now perhaps it's like, well, why? Why is leadership such a strong human skill in my team? And it's going to return to you that information based on the recognition activity among your team members. Or perhaps you want to understand, how is my team doing at inclusion and understanding and uncovering unconscious bias in our team? We can report that back as well, all based off of a simple but meaningful and specific message of recognition, point of connection between two people. Recognition delivers so much more. We can also start to see trends. We can see across the 70 million users of our platform, or within a company, or within a team, what are those trends amongst what soft skills are rising to the fore? I just did it. What human skills are rising to the fore in an organization? We see across those 70 million employees on our platforms, efficiency, proactivity, supportiveness. Supportiveness has been rising through the ranks ever since COVID. And we see it more and more where people are identifying that in their colleagues at work. We can also see trends across industries. Now, I am not at all surprised that in biotech, tech, finance, AI is trending. Not surprising. Also not surprised in healthcare that well-being is trending. I hope we're taking care of our nurses as well as they take care of us. I am surprised to see that well-being is trending in government. That's something I want to dig into, learn more. What is it that the government industry has figured out about why well-being is important to succeed and serve our communities well? This is where the role of truly strategic recognition becomes particularly powerful. We did research with Gallup, been in a deep research partnership with them for several years. And what we learned in that partnership is when people agree the recognition they receive at work is meaningful and aligned to the work they do, not thanks, bruv, love ya, but that very specific message of recognition, they are 44% more likely to say they are thriving in their lives overall. Going back to that exercise we did, half the people in this room are suffering and struggling. Only half are thriving. Every single one of us, every single person in our organizations has the power to help each other thrive, simply through that deliberate, intentional moment of appreciation and recognition of saying, I see you, I see what you do matters, you matter. Because that's what recognition is. Oh, and by the way, it also dramatically reduces burnout, increases connection between people at work, and dramatically drives up belonging. I have found my tribe, this is where I belong. So what does that look like? We also worked with Gallup to understand, what are the aspects of recognition to make all of that happen, to get us beyond thanks, bruv, love ya. There's 5 aspects of this. One is fulfilling. That effort, reward, and balance I mentioned earlier. The effort I bring needs to be fulfilling in the reward that is aligned to it, in the recognition aspect. It needs to be authentic, that meaningful, specific, detailed message of recognition. It has to be embedded in our culture. It has to be just the habit of how we work and interact with each other in our company. It has to be individualized. How I like to be recognized is very different from how you like to be recognized, and you, and you. It needs, the systems underlying it need to be flexible to support that individual personal need as individual personal humans, and by regional attributes as well. And it has to be equitable. Regardless of the region you live in, the job you do, the type of role you have, everyone needs to have equitable access to that ability to be recognized, and critically, to recognize others. This is not managers' responsibility. It is certainly not HR's responsibility. It is everyone's responsibility. And when we do this well, we see in the Gallup research that for an average 10,000 employee organization, if we can get to just doubling the number of people who say that they have been recognized or praised for doing good work in the last 7 days, Q4 on the Gallup Q12 survey, then we can see these dramatic results in terms of our people from a point of view of productivity, safety, and absenteeism. And when we translate those improvements in productivity, safety, and absenteeism to actual value to the organization, average 10,000 person organization, you can see the financial impact and how significant that is. What's good for the human is good for the business. So, bringing this back into looping skills back in, we need to align the business strategy and the people strategies to even achieve this, to deliver on those skills goals. And when we do, then it's things that people in this room, you hear all the time about: increased engagement, reduced likelihood of looking for another job, agree that they would recommend the organization to others. Wonderful. How? Why? That's what's in the left side, the color block on the screen. At its core, what recognition is a behavior nudge. It is a pointer to what good looks like and we want to see more of. And in its best state, it is not focused on just the what, just the outcomes and results. It's focused on the how, the underlying behaviors of how we achieved those results. When we're trying to build in upskilling, reskilling, bringing people on board and around to this, when we recognize people who have gone through that effort or are moving through that effort or making time and space for their team to go through that effort, we are building our learning and development culture and supporting that as well. And that is what is driving systemic transformation. And it also, oh, by the way, helps us find and promote the right people, which leads to better career paths and happier teams. Now, everyone in this room knows that your best individual contributor is often not your best people manager. I've suffered that. Anybody else suffered that? Yeah, a few. When we're honest, there's a few. But we want everyone to have career paths that are meaningful to them, whether that's continuing up an individual contributor chain or up that people management chain. To do that, we need to understand where people's true skills lie and feed into that. Believe me, your worst people manager, they know it. They're not happy. They know it. So how can we help them identify their skills and move in that way? And that's where the skills-based training, by first identifying the skills that people need training in, and then building for them, can increase employee productivity, greater connection to work, and that sense of purpose that shields people from burnout and cost. Now, I want to pause on this one in a minute. If you've heard me speak before, I usually bring this in. How does recognition lead to a sense of purpose, reduction in burnout? I use the definition that my CEO, Eric Mosley, gives. Purpose is collective. Meaning is personal. Recognition, appreciation is the bridge in between. What he means is the purpose of our organization is collective, that we're all trying to achieve together. Fabulous. But how I derive personal meaning from what I do every day and delivering to that purpose, I'm able to make that connection based off the recognition I receive from others. Recognition is far more powerful than we think. And that helps us, avoid the cost of hiring if we can reskill people into these roles we need, which also reinforces our company culture overall. So what can we do? I'm going to leave you with 4 tips on what can we do here. Each starts with a bare minimum start here, then an idea to do a bit more, and then to really go pro. So first of all, we have to link well-being, skills, and recognition efforts. These are often owned by different people within an organization and managed completely separately from each other. We have to break that down and link these together. So, where are your gaps? Where are your gaps in skills? Where are your gaps in this linkage? Who owns these other things that you might not own in the organization? How can you meet up with them? So we can align those programs with the executive strategic vision. It's not enough to align to each other. We have to connect them to the executive vision. Drive to 2025, Ambition 2030, whatever it is in your organization. How are we linking to that? Because when we do, that lets us reskill, upskill the people we have for effective talent management. Where we simply can't fill the gaps that way, acquire the people we need that fill those gaps for us for a much better employee experience, a much more inclusive culture at work, and a stronger well-being from people who know that work they do is aligned to their own skills and what they believe in personally. Second, executives have to lead the way. We need that senior buy-in. Absolutely. What gets senior buy-in? Proof. Data. So we have to create those executive dashboard visibility on the impact of well-being, skills, and those initiatives. We need to serve back up to them how these initiatives are delivering on that executive priority and executive role participation. We have to empower our managers. We have to create space. Create space and time for our managers to do this. They're all overworked. We have to create the time and space for them to do this. And again, report back to them on how their efforts are delivering productivity within their own teams. And we have to celebrate. We have to celebrate together. Create that platform for connection, community, celebration as teams. I've said many times, what's good for the person is good for the business. It's equally true that without the human, it's just work, now more than ever. We would love for you to continue the conversation with us. QR code is a registration for our Spotlight series. July 30 is the Wellbeing Spotlight session, 90-minute session, panelist discussions, research, keynote, all in one session for you. These are free, and you can also listen to back episodes on AI and the skills gap. And we are at booth 1, which is the first booth right on your left out there. We'd love to chat with you more.